Hi, I'm personal trainer Yuji.
There are certain shortcomings that people in their 50s tend to have. Please don't get angry when I say shortcomings. It's just that when you reach your 50s, everyone starts to notice that while some areas are great, there are also issues that prevent good form during strength training, which in turn hinders the development of attractive muscles. This is a point I often mention, and to put it simply, it comes from a higher perspective. In this area, it feels like this. The neck, while not exactly referred to as text neck, tends to protrude forward as people reach this age due to what is often called computer neck. Additionally, the shoulders may become rounded. The abdominal muscles are weak, causing the body to sag, and in this state, the lower back and back become rounded. Furthermore, the hamstrings are tight in this area. However, there is one exercise that can address all of these issues, just this one. If you keep doing this, you will see significant improvements, so I really want you to try it. First of all, I would like you to prepare a towel. A regular sports towel should be fine. We will be doing the overhead squat using this towel. The overhead squat is a bit different. So first, hold the towel at a width like this and place it on your head. Well, at that time, my forearms should be about vertical, but since I don't have a mirror, I can tell. The forearms should be in a position where they are neither too narrow nor too wide, so when I touch my head, my forearms are vertical. In this position, I first extend my arms. Maybe because the frame is cut off, I extend my elbows. Which are slightly lowered. With my elbows extended, my feet should be about shoulder width apart and slightly diagonal. It's really good. We will perform a squat exercise with feet shoulder width apart and elbows extended, slowly and carefully. This is the squat exercise where you stand up in a controlled manner. I really want you to try the overhead squat. Let me point out a few things. First, your feet should be shoulder width apart, just about the width of your own shoulders. Since this is a squat, your knees will naturally go forward as you rise onto your toes. Make sure to put your weight on your heels and perform the squat by pushing from your hips. Remember to keep your heels down during the squat. Since this is a squat where you step on Kato, you want to keep your thighs as tight as possible and pull your hamstrings back, making sure that your knees do not extend too far forward. This is really about finding your own limits. It's important to find a position where your knees are barely extending as much as possible. In this position, I am raising my arms, and this is how I do it. I mentioned stretching the arms at the beginning. Extend the arms and keep the elbows straight. Even when you squat, maintain the elbows in a straight position. When you squat, it's likely that the elbows will bend easily. So, push them in firmly and keep them pressed while squatting. Therefore, as you go down, the lower back and back arch. This position is still acceptable, but when you squat, the lower back and back start to arch even more. It keeps arching in that direction. The elbows tend to loosen easily. It is necessary to apply more pushing force while doing this. The most important thing at this time is not the shoulders, but the back. The spine in the back must contract fully, and surprisingly, the latissimus dorsi needs to be firmly engaged. However, I want you to focus on the mission of the back while doing this. By doing this, the lower back tends to round. This naturally creates contraction in the back and lower back when you arch. You can create a contraction in the lower back. At the same time, you are tightening and lifting the abdominal muscles, which adds force in the opposite direction to prevent them from dropping. This practice helps in lifting the abdomen. While I'm not fully stretching the hamstrings right now, squatting in this position with a firm back allows the hamstrings to stretch. For those with tight hips, the lower back tends to round. Therefore, maintaining this position with a straight lower back while performing the overhead squat is important for the hamstrings. In reality, it stretches out. Well, the upper half of the stretch is coming along. Also, since the arms are raised like this, the trapezius, around here, is in a fully contracted state. It maintains this contracted state, so the shoulders are in a position that is the complete opposite of this. It's the opposite of this rounded position. It becomes completely the opposite. Well, it becomes a habit for the head to lean forward when rapping. This is very difficult. As a basic principle, I hope that those who can do it will strive to achieve this, but I want you to do it without bending your elbows. The most common issue is that as you do this, your arms tend to move forward. This is it. If you push yourself too hard, this happens. It can go this way, but it ends up going that way. In other words, I think there are quite a few people, especially men, who really struggle to contract this area. In such cases, of course, I want you to work hard to achieve the correct form, but if your elbows aren't extending, I hope you can make an effort to bring them back while trying to extend your elbows. I want you to make that effort, but not too much. For those who find themselves in this situation, it's a bit easier. You can manage it. Let's make it a little gentler. Slightly turn your feet outward. Earlier, I mentioned shoulder width, but let's adjust this to be a bit closer to a wide squat. Not fully wide, but moderately wide. So, the toes should point slightly outward. In this position, we will proceed. Therefore, the knees, which were narrow before, should also turn outward, in the direction of the toes, while keeping the heels grounded as we perform the movement. Surprisingly, the arch in the lower back and back tends to become a bit softer, so when we really push this arch, it becomes wide, which means the arch in the lower back and back doesn't go in as much. Therefore, I think it's important to first ensure that the upper body can also perform well. For those who are stiff in this area, please try widening your feet first. Currently, we have the basic stance with feet shoulder width apart while extending the arms, and for those who find it quite challenging, there is also the option to do it more gently with a wider stance. I also think there might be people who are the opposite. Comparisons can be made. And yes, this can be done. It can definitely be done. I think there are people who would prefer to go a little higher. For those who want to go a little higher, yes, you will hold a dumbbell. Holding a dumbbell makes a significant difference compared to using a towel. With a towel, you are just holding it above, and while the towel does not spread out, it does help to stabilize in a way. In the case of using dumbbells, you would lift them while performing the overhead squat. However, there is nothing to prevent the weights from opening outward, so you have to keep pushing them in. This can be quite challenging due to the weight involved. For women, starting with about 2 kilograms is reasonable, while men should aim for around 4 to 5 kilograms. If you are capable of performing normally, I would like you to push yourself to handle 4 to 5 kilograms. The basic shape is essentially the same, with your feet shoulder width apart and your elbows pressed firmly. You will continue to do this, while connecting it to the previous exercise. Is it different? Rather than the weight, this one is wobbling, so tightening the back to stabilize it really engages the muscles strongly. You use a lot of strength in this area. However, this is an excellent exercise, and I hope you can eventually do it with dumbbells. So for men, I think it's fine to start with just 1 or 2 kilograms at first, but I definitely want you to try it with dumbbells. Just make sure your elbows don't bend. I want you to do it while keeping the pressure applied, and do your best to avoid letting your arms come forward as much as possible. Honestly, when it comes to doing the overhead squat, I believe that this ultimate exercise, which corrects the neck, shoulders, abdomen, lower back, and hamstrings, is essential. While regular squats are often referred to as the king of training, I would say that the overhead squat is the king of corrective exercises, although the name is quite long. I would like you to start incorporating this as a light morning exercise using a towel. There are various stretches and so-called stretching exercises as well. Well, you see, it has effects that are comparable to or even greater than a regular switch. Once you can do this, it really makes various exercises easier, like the Bulgarian squat and the shoulder press when you do it yourself. All training becomes easier. So, by correcting those weak points in your body and coordinating your movements, you are essentially using your whole body in a synchronized manner. You will get better at that, so definitely give this a try. This is an exercise that I really want people in their 50s to incorporate into their routine. So, I want to emphasize this a bit. Please give it a try. As for the repetitions, about 10 reps for 2 sets is sufficient. That's all you need. It really only takes 1 to 2 minutes, so please give it a shot.
Please subscribe the channel and follow my Instagram and X. I hope to see you next time. ありがとうございます。